Good morning, boys and girls, and welcome once again to the southern wing of the Stink Bug Works, that super secret research and development division of Dr. Jet Laboratories, where we sit around all day and we invent things and we make stuff. And where we are the OG of jet juice slurping. Now, there are some young whippersnappers out there that think they can slurp jet juice on YouTube videos, but we all know who the OG of jet juice slurping is. In front of you are two boats. I have an empty hull here, and I'm prepping this guy. I looked on EcoMaster's website. I think he calls this hull the eraser because it erases all records and sets new ones. I don't know, but it's called the eraser. Anyway, this boat has a lot of similarities with the Mini Dom. The whole drive system, the location of everything, the way the battery's held down, the shape of the flood chamber, although this one fills up part of the nose here too. But they're real similar, and they race in a mini hydro class that runs on 3S. And so the setups, that was something nasty. The setups are pretty much the same. Well, look at here. This is the Cobra M450, and it's no longer available. But hold on, boys and girls. There's a caveat to that. So let's take a look at the Cobra M450. Why, Shazam, it's laid out exactly the same. You know, servo's back here with a clamp mount, although it uses push for a right turn. I like to use pull for a right turn. But the same kind of motor, the same kind of motor mount, same battery placement, same speed control placement, same overall layout of everything, same 2mm drive. This boat I bought when they were in production for, I think it was like $122. And I saw the prices fluctuate. You know how they do on these things. You know, I've seen them for $250 and, but they stayed around the $100 to $159.95 kind of prices. But now you can't find them. But wait. I found your handy-dandy Chinese website that has these things for a ridiculously low price. And I think what has happened is the manufacturer overproduced these things, and he did a lousy job marketing them. I mean, you didn't really see this in the U.S. market. I mean, if you go on eBay, you see all these toy-grade boats, the same one over and over and over. 57,000 times you see the same toy boats. But you didn't see it with this. Now, this is almost borderline toy in that the hull is polystyrene, the same thing, they make plastic model airplanes from. But because of that, all the molded edges are really crisp and precise. So while this hull may not withstand the rigors of racing, rocks, Christmas trees, alligators, turtles, why this hull might not withstand all of that, you could always take the running gear out and put it in another hull like this. And everything would be just fine. Well, when the manufacturer overproduces these things, there's a lot of things that go on behind the scenes. They sell mass quantities to liquidators, they sell them by the pallet and so forth. And then the liquidators sell them. Well, I've seen these recently on the Chinese websites for stupid low prices. Just stupid low prices. And I bought a couple. And then I found an even more stupid low price. And I said, well, I'll buy 4 of them. So now I have a half a dozen of these things. And in different colors. I think some of them are going to be blue, and I don't know what the other ones will be. But I have a half a dozen of these coming. And I have several plans for them. If you're local to my area, and I'm talking San Diego East County, San Diego North County, San Diego Central, if you're in that area, you should drop me a note. I'll set you up with a boat for dirt cheap, just stupid dirt cheap, and a boat you won't be embarrassed to run, because this thing scoots. There's a couple guys in the boat gang that have them. One of them, for the sake of argument, I will call Jim, because in fact his name is Jim. Anyway, Jim has one of these, and he's totally happy with it, box stock. And in fact, this one is box stock. I've only done one thing to it, was added flotation foam. Oh, I did one other thing too. I made the rudder kick up. I rounded this top portion and put in a nylon screw down here. A kick-up rudder's nice. When you hit them alligators, you don't want to do a lobotomy on them. So there you go. I was going to set up some local guys with some dirt cheap boats so we can go run them around. Or I'm going to use them as prizes for challenges. In fact, that's how Jim got his, was he participated in one of my challenges and was the winner. And he got a free boat. So I'm not sure what I would do for my next challenge. It would have to be something different. Because everybody has everything the same, and I like to, if I'm going to force you guys into building something, it should be something that you don't already have sitting on the shelf. So that's that. Anyway, so look, power systems. Let's just talk about power systems for a second. We'll make this video longer. I've been making my videos short just because short videos are easy to watch, just a couple minutes. This thing has a 28, and it's either 30, I think it's a 2835 motor of around 3,500 kV. So it's a good 3S motor, perfectly good 3S motor. It's a cheap Chinese motor, so it's not going to be as efficient as other motors. The motor that's going in this is a monster. It doesn't look, well, of course the water jacket's deceiving, but this is an 1107. So that means it's 29 millimeter in diameter, and it is, let me get to it is 46 millimeters long. So it's a 2946. That's pretty beefy. And Steve's motors generally run in the mid 90% efficiency. That's why these motors are so good, is they're really efficient. Steve's a mad scientist. He sits behind analog computer or analog machine dials on the dynamometers that he built. He builds his own dynamometers, and he's dyno testing his motors, and he's looking at the graph of, RPM and torque, and he's going, well, I could get a little more torque out of it at this RPM if I did this. I mean, the guy's crazy. That's why his motors are so pricey. But he's crazy in a good way, if you know what I mean. He's your mad motor scientist. So I'm going to put this in here, and this thing's plenty fast, and at the speeds it does, it handles quite well. And you'll see they're really similar in design, really similar. Although when I look at it, this one appears a bit narrower, a little higher aspect ratio. This is probably going to be more of a stunt boat. It's going to be a whole lot of, hey, watch this, because I think it's going to be, 3/4 throttle and on the verge of insanity, and then you go full throttle and something crazy is going to happen. That's why I'm building this jetted. Everything is in here rock solid. And I don't know if you've seen the servo mount since I did it. I'll tell you what I did. This was kind of fun. You see how the hull has a little dip in it here for the strake, and I used a flat plate for the servo mount, so there was kind of a gap. So I tacked it in the upper corners here and here, with everything set up in the servo unit. You saw it where I had a clamp on it, clamping it down. And then when I came back and pulled the servo out, I mixed up a slurry of the same stuff I did here, a slurry of epoxy and milled fiberglass, and I dripped it down into what was a little hole under here, and you could see it on the G10 as the epoxy was wetting out the G10, because I roughed it up on the bottom. And so that kind of, made some opacity to this G10, made it more opaque than it already is. But as it wetted out, you could see where it was wetting out. And so I kept adding in there and followed the wet out. And then when it started oozing out this side, I grabbed a Q-tip, cleaned it up, and leveled it off. And that way, the surface tension held everything right underneath there. And so that whole thing is now full of epoxy and milled fiberglass. So it's now part of the hull. So when this thing does the big B nosedive, and it goes from full speed to full stop in the blink of an eye, everything will stay in place. I mean, the motor mount is super solid, and because of the coupler protector and the shaft, that also adds rigidity to the whole system. So everything in this should be totally jetted. It can withstand, the plunge into the mud. Yeah, and I fear there's going to be a whole lot of, hey, watch this. And then hopefully after I do that, the boat will still be, it will still float. Anyway, I've been jacking my jaws. Today's plan is, I haven't shot any primer on the top of the hull. I've been mainly just focusing on the sides and getting a little overspray here. But I've been focusing on the sides where that seam was. There's one or two little pinholes, but It's 99.9% there. You know, the transom cleaned up pretty good. Oh, I still have to drill and tap those holes. I'll do that before the silver goes on. Absolutely. So there you go, boys and girls. I've been rambling and changing directions. When I came to a fork in the road, I took it. Yeah. Until next time, boys and girls, jet out.